Welcome, everyone. My name is Mark. I'm the author of Being Heart-Centered, a step-by-step introduction to existential sociology. And I am your HSP guide to ontology, the study of being. I have a special topic for today, and that involves conversations and language, but at the public level, at the level of our public discourse, at the level of politics. So I'm going to jump right to the topic at hand to relate a little bit of my perspective on the societal crisis that I believe that we're in, and that the societal crisis that we're in is effectively a linguistic crisis. And as a linguistic crisis, it can be addressed linguistically. So this societal crisis I see is in our public discourse, our politics, in which the routine use of slanted, weaponized language is warping any sense of actual deliberation or public conversation on any issues. Rather than seeking to develop an understanding of the issues with detail and nuance, we're consumed by arguing over whose talking points are right, as if it were possible to present an opinion as an empirical fact. A talking point barely escapes being nonsensical, i.e., being a statement that is so poorly defined as to be ambiguous. Such a point, if it has any, may be so general without any reference to the specific circumstances in which it might be applied as to be meaningless. I must have border security, a wall or a fence, means what? A wall or fence around the White House? Along the southern border, all 2,000 miles? How do you wall across a river? What's the difference between a wall and what was built from the Secure Fence Act of 2006? Yet we fall into the trap of treating a general statement such as that, or I am happy to shut down the government for border security, as if such a statement means something. Why are we not all looking on with a blank face saying, what do you mean by border security? What are you proposing? What kind of wall? Where? Where's the plan? What's the budget? Why are we not treating politicians and media commentators who sell us using talking points without any detail, using language meant to coerce and confuse as simple hucksters? Why aren't we treating them as huckster? A huckster being someone who sells us on something in an aggressive, dishonest, and annoying way. So one of the basic tricks that are being used is disinformation. And that is to present opinions as if they were empirical facts, such as climate change is a hoax. And then to present further opinions as evidence for the truth of the original opinion, often ridiculing and belittling those who disagree. That's using more opinions to validate an opinion. It's just a bunch of opinion. And opinion that isn't grounded in specifics. So disinformation is defined as false information designed to mislead. Its widespread use, in my opinion, is demeaning our civil discourse, the principled exchange of views in search of common ground. It is also creating amongst us the inability to have a public conversation with any depth or subtlety, as any reasoned conversation is vulnerable to devolving into a right-wrong conversation, a shouting match between reasonably sounding, meaningless talking points. The acceptance of talking points, in my opinion, as legitimate speech is the primary shortcoming of journalism today. I'm using journalism in the classic sense, being defined as the activity of gathering, assessing, creating, and presenting news and information. Talking points as a substitute for principled debate is debasing our capacity to use language, and in my view, creating cognitive damage by the long-term triggering of the public's primal brains by rhetoric that seeks to create threat, fear, reactivity, and division. This is, in my opinion, a hacking of our language by those who claim the authority to define reality, i.e., to represent their opinions forcefully as universal truth. Opinions are, according to John R. Searle, one way of interpreting a given set of facts, selected from among a nearly infinite number of possible interpretations. For example, the opinion that fishing is good in the Atlantic is most likely not valid depending on the listener, because its lack of specificity, time, place, standards of assessment are too vague. If I were to say the cod fishing in the Grand Banks this last summer was good, is possibly specific enough to be a valid opinion observation, but I would, by this speaking, be obligated to define good. If I do not provide a standard for good, the original statement becomes essentially meaningless. Even casual observation of what passes for public discourse in the United States will reveal that almost all of the opinions and talking points lobbed out into the public discourse are rarely specific enough to be meaningful. And are we condemned to fight disinformation and the brainwashing repetition of false statements designed to mislead with other opinions expressed as truth? I would say no. Our collective path forward is a choice of an affirmative path of conscious choice of coexistence and civil discourse based on democratic ideals, i.e., each of us having the right to be having a fundamentally different experience of reality in a civic space defined by the responsible use of subjective, non-weaponized language. By this means, we can wholeheartedly and choicefully engage in the issues affecting us all, becoming stronger as a nation because we have differing opinions. So, why do we keep accepting sound bites as if it were speech, as if it were principled deliberation of an issue? And if we allow sound bites to dominate, then we're pretty much condemned to being led by those who can create the most reasonable sounding, twisted sound bites possible. So that's our choice. Reasoned political discourse, accepting that we have differences of opinion, or domination by authoritarian language, in which the politician or the news outlet or the commentator gets to declare the way it is an opinion as if it's true. Thank you very much for listening.